Hey guys, so in this video, I'm going to be demoing how to basically make a logo. I'm going to do it pretty quickly, but we're going to go over, what dimensions to make your logo file, how to save your logo, how to bring in outside files, cropping images will be covered. We'll cover a little bit of the layers panel, some of the basics. The text tool, we'll be working with that. Free transform tool, we'll use that. The zoom tool, create outlines, will be covered. Shape builder tool, delete anchor point tool, the ellipse tool, the alignment panel will be covered, grouping objects, working with rulers, and arranging objects will be covered. We'll also talk a little bit in this demo about naming conventions, folder structure, file types. I will have a separate handout that's really more detailed for naming conventions, folder structures, and file types for logo design. But we will cover like some really basic stuff in this demo on that. So I'm going to give you this handout. I'm going to beef it up with a few images. Just for you as a quick reference for this demo, the things that we cover, they're pretty important things for logo design, things that you're probably going to need to know to design your own logo. So that's why I'm providing you with the handout plus this demo to follow along with. So let's go ahead and launch Adobe Illustrator. You might have to go into Finder, into your applications folder to find Illustrator. You might have to go kind of a folder deep to get that launched. This is what it looks like when it's launched. We'll do a new file here. And we want to go to print. And we want to make sure that we're on inches over here in the left hand. And we want to, for logo files, we just want them 3 by 3 inches. That's typically what I make all of my logo files. It doesn't need to be any bigger than that. Under the advanced options, if this isn't open, just go ahead and open that up. We want this in CMYK color mode because we're going to do high resolution print logo first. We'll design that first, and then we'll save out extra files later for like lower res screen RGB color mode logos that are more for screen. But we're going to start with print first. So we need it in CMYK color mode, and we need the raster effect set to high, which is 300 ppi. We don't need to worry about any of the preview mode or more settings. So once you have it looking like this, you can push create. So this is the artboard. That's looking pretty good. What we want to do is we want to go to Window, Workspace, and we want to go to Essentials Classic. I might reset my Essentials Classic. So it should look like this. You should have your Properties panel open. If it's not, you can go to Window Properties. It should be, though. Make sure that's checked under Window. If your tools panel looks like this, if you want it to match mine, that might help you out. So to expand that, just click that little arrow to expand that toolbar out. So these are our tools. This is our properties panel. Those are probably the two most important things that we need to be focusing on when we're in the software. This is the artboard. That's what it's called in Illustrator. So let's go ahead and do a file save as. I'll show you roughly how to save this file. Save as. This is where we save our document. Go into your documents folder. Don't put it on your desktop. Don't save important things on your desktop. I'm actually going to go into a demos folder. You don't need to do that, but go ahead and save this in your documents. Create a new folder. Name it with your project name. So Mary Ward Design Logo is the name of this. So go ahead and create a new folder. Mary Ward Design Logo in your documents. So go ahead and create that. And then we're going to name our file. So folder names, as you can see, this is my folder name. You can have spaces in folder names, but in file names, you need to either keep it to camel case or underscores to separate out words in your file name. So we're going to name this Mary Ward Design. And then I'm going to uppercase everything because I think it's easier to read, but you can undercase black. It doesn't have to be uppercase. Make sure the format is AI, which is Adobe Illustrator. That's the native file, the working file out of Illustrator. So go ahead, push save. We want to save that inside of our project. Actually, we want to create another folder, sorry. Before we do that, we want to name a print folder, create, because this is going to be a print. And then we want to make another folder, black. Create. Now we'll save, and I can show you this in a better view. Columns. So as you can see, we're in our documents, we're in our project folder. Within that, we have the print folder and black, the color black. We probably would have a white and a color version inside the print. We would also have a screen folder here with, you know, black, white color. You can reference the worksheet that I give you on folder structure, file naming conventions, and file types. That'll help you out a lot. But we're just going to start with this. I do want you to set the folder structure up to look like this. Print, and inside that black, and we're going to save. I want you to save it like this. So push save. Okay, so we've got that file saved. So we want to go ahead and start by bringing a sketch in. So file, place. That's how you bring an outside file into Adobe Illustrator, is by going to file at the top menu and then place. So I'm going to find this file. I think it's, let's go back into columns here, or no, maybe go back into list. I think it's in my documents. Actually, I wonder, here we go. I actually have it right here. So this is my little sketch I made of my logo. If I click and hold down and then let up at the size I want it to come in at, that works really well. I'm going to provide you with this in Brightspace for download, so you'll need to download that to follow along, because I will be checking to make sure that you brought the sketch in, that you worked with the layers panel. So, so we're going to do a file, place, bring that in, you know, click it in at the size we want it to be, and we'll crop the image using the crop image button with it selected. So make sure you select this. You can use the black arrow tool, select that, and go to crop image over here in the properties panel. Crop image, it might say something, push OK. And let's just crop it down to where it's just a little bit more simplified. Push return to make it stick. Maybe center it a little bit better on the artboard. Okay, now we can actually work with our layers panel to put this in a separate layer than the layer that we're going to be working with. We're going to work on top of this sketch. So the sketch is a reference for us. So to create a new layer, so we're in layer 1 now. You can see it's blue. The layer color is blue. You can see that there. You can see that inside the layer, if we open that up, there's the image right there. We can close that back up. But so let's go ahead and make a new layer. You just do that by clicking on the plus button here in the layers panel down at the bottom. And then we can actually go and on our artboard click on this, and the opacity for this is here. So let's turn the opacity down maybe to, like, I don't know, around 50. And then we can lock our layer. It's if you hover over it, it'll tell you, but it's next to the eyeball and in between the layer color here. So you click on that if you want to lock it. If you want to unlock it, you can click on it again. But we want to keep layer 1 locked. So in layer 1 we have our image. We're going to work on top of that with our new layer that we created. So we can actually rename layers by double clicking on them. Sketch. So name this layer sketch, and then layer 2, name it design. And make sure you're highlighted on this one. And if we want to turn off this sketch layer at any time, we can. We can turn off a layer's content by pushing this button here, the eyeball, toggling that on and off. But we want to make sure we're highlighted and in the design layer now. Okay, so let's grab the text tool, which looks like a T over here. Click and drag that out. Put an M in there. We're going to start making this shape with the MW. So we're actually going to use text for that to start off with. I found that Verdana works pretty well. So if we go to the character area of the properties panel, this is where all of our options are. You know, this drop down is where you can change your font type. You can change it from bold to, depending on if your font includes bold or italic, you can change that with this drop down menu. You can change size here. This is the leading, which is a space between lines. This is the kerning, the space between 2 letters. This is the tracking, space between all letters in a word. And then there's even more options than that if you click on these 3 buttons. You can get everything all caps. So if you hover over these things, they will tell you what they do, which is very nice. But okay, so actually if we just start typing in Verdana, we can find it. I don't know, I think I used regular Verdana. Okay, so we have the M now. I can size it up, actually. if I want to here with the free transform tool, it's over here. It kind of looks like a dotted square with a cursor. So let's push shift on our keyboard and drag out from the corner. When you push shift, it helps to preserve the proportions of your thing that you're resizing. So definitely push shift as you are dragging out the corner of your object to make it either larger or smaller. Otherwise you'll get a stretched image or a squished image. Okay, and then let's click Option on the keyboard, or hold down Option on the keyboard when we're on the black arrow tool. And let's click on this text box and drag out a second M, basically. And then we want to double click inside here and just make it a W. I might have to make my text box a little bit bigger because the W is larger than the M is in this particular font. So now we have the M and the W, and we can kind of start to line them up the way that we think they should be lined up. Something like that. It's pretty close to what I have underneath my sketch there. But I just need to figure out a way to join these two shapes together and edit them a little bit, which is definitely doable. So if we want to zoom in, you can use the zoom tool, which looks like a magnifying glass. If you click and hold and drag to the right, it zooms in. If you click and hold and drag to the left, it zooms out. You can also do Command plus or Command minus. I like using the keyboard shortcuts, but it's up to you what you prefer. So we need to create shapes out of these text boxes. We don't want editable text boxes anymore. We want shapes to work with because we want to join these things together. We want to work with them as shapes and not editable text. So a lot of times when you're working with text, you have to outline it before you start working with it. So type, if you have your text box selected, you can go to Type, Create Outlines, and that'll make a shape. So if we select this and zoom in on it, you can see the little anchor points that make up the shape. So, I mean, it's no longer an editable text box. You can also use the black arrow tool and just control click or right click and do create outlines that way as well. So there's a couple different ways to create outlines. You can go to the type menu with the text box selected and go to create outlines, or you can right click on your text box to create outlines. Or control click on a Mac. So now that we have both of those as shapes, we can start building shapes with these things together. So let's push shift and get both shapes selected at the same time. And let's go ahead and actually I'm going to overlap this W just a little bit more. So let me zoom in on this actually, and I'm going to use my space bar to create my little hand so I can click and drag and hold and move around a little bit. But I'm kind of wanting to line up this so that it is just barely like, yeah, maybe something like that. And then I kind of want to move it down a little bit so that it's perfectly aligned with the M. So I'm getting this line lined up with this little apex of the M, and I'm getting this line lined up with the top of the W and the top of the M perfectly lined up if possible. It's kind of hard. You have to zoom in probably to get that done. I'm using the space bar to get my little hand so I can drag it around. And then let's go to the shape builder tool. This is going to be like one of your best friends in Illustrator. It's so handy. So let's click on it. Oh, we need to actually, before we do that, push shift and get both shapes selected that we want to work with, because we want to join some parts together. So we need to have both selected. And then you can click and drag through. Oops, I might have goofed that up actually. Command Z. Click and drag through areas that you want to join together. So I want to join these areas together, and then I have these little stray shapes that I want to actually subtract. So if I push Option down on my keyboard, I can click and hold and subtract those shapes. So now I have, pretty much the M that I wanted, except for this part of the M isn't going down here. But I can adjust the spacing actually by using the white arrow tool. Okay, so we'll move this down by shift clicking. We need to have the white arrow though. If we're working with specific anchor points and we want to move specific anchor points, we need to use the white arrow for that. And you have to push shift to get a little white area there and just move these straight down. If the anchor point is white, that means that it's allowing you to edit it. So, I mean, I want to keep this in line with the bottom of that for the most part. I'm really eyeballing it here, but